Good evening and welcome to the November 12th regular school board business meeting. Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There are. We have had a request for Representative Carney to give some legislative sentiments, so we can do that as the first presentation.
Great, thank you.
Also, I would like to note in item 8E, which is the Model UN trip, that it should list the date and the place when we're approving the field trip, and the dates are 2/7/20 to 2/9/20, and it's in Boston, Massachusetts at BU. Otherwise, we're just approving any old field trip anywhere.
It's true.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, item 2, may I have a motion?
I move we approve the school board minutes from October 8th, 2019.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Item number 3. May I have a motion?
I move we approve the executive session minutes from November 5th, 2019.
May I have a second?
Second.
Who's that? Laura. Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Moving along to comments from the student representatives. Welcome.
Okay, so things at school are running pretty smoothly right now. It is a slightly stressful time for seniors, however, considering quarter grades just closed last week and a lot of college deadlines were either November 1st or the 15th. So it has been a little bit stressful for a lot of students, but only seniors. And the student council at the school is also collecting non-perishable goods to donate to the local food pantry for Thanksgiving. So that's kind of something that's been kind of ramping up towards we get towards Thanksgiving and the holiday seasons.
So it was an exciting weekend for the girls soccer team. They won Class B state, the state game, and now they are Class B state champions. So it's really exciting. And other than that, school sports are just wrapping up. So we're on the off season for a few weeks, but everything's going well. So.
Thank you. Congratulations to the girls soccer. It was a great game. Okay, are there any comments from the public on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to presentations, and as noted in adjustments, we'll begin with Ann Carney.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here this evening to present some legislative sentiments, and also just wanted to note that it will be a pleasure to request yet another one for the girls soccer team, and I will do that. Congratulations. So legislative sentiments are a way for the legislature to acknowledge achievements, particularly school achievements. And here we've got 2 achievements. So I'm acting on behalf of the entire legislative delegation for our community, which includes Senator Rebecca Millett, Representative Chris Kessler, and myself. And I have legislative sentiments. The first is from last June, which was the girls lacrosse state championship. And then we're very proud to recognize the Cape Elizabeth High School being recognized as a blue ribbon school. So thank you very much, and I'll deliver these to the chair of the school board.
Oh, great, thank you. We are going to recognize more fabulous students, and I believe that
Caitlin Ramsey and Joanne Lee are here to help us present these awards and describe what they signify.
Oh, Caitlin's going to go first. Is that middle school? Oh, no, they're both up there.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Ramsey. I teach band at the middle school, and I'm here speaking on behalf of myself and both Emily LeBourne, who is our music and chorus teacher. We had many middle school students audition in the late October at Westbrook Middle School for the Southern Maine Middle School Honors Festival. And this festival is an honors festival that involves 12 schools, middle schools in the region. And these students have been working on solos and scales and sight reading for 5 weeks leading up to auditions. And we actually had 30 middle school students from CEMS who were accepted into band and chorus. I got a little nervous. I brought my laptop because there's so many of them. I was worried I'd forget somebody's name. So in late February, these students are going to participate in a 2-day festival that concludes in a concert, and they get to work with guest conductors. So we're very proud of their hard work and take the courage to go and audition all by yourself for a judge. And I don't know do you want me to read their names? I'm not sure.
We have certificates, so you can read their names and give them.
Oh, lovely.
You might want to go in order of the certificates.
Perfect. And I did want to mention, the middle CMS had the most students represented in the festival from any other middle school, so we're very proud of that. All right, so up here, I'm not sure who's with us, but we have Olive Waverns. Is Olive here this evening? Nope. We have Mimi McCarley. Piper Rickman, I saw Piper. Come on up, Piper.
Come on, Piper.
Go that way.
Yep. Just
You guys didn't know you'd be embarrassed like this, did you? Bella Carver. Alden Hughes. I saw Alden. Abby Wools. There she is. We have Saga Hart. Brooke Giroux. See Brooke? Eliza Green. Charlie Reiniger. Zoe Burgard. Lucy Shaw. Declan Seyfries. Graham Pleward. Simon Shaika Brown. Tess Straw. Sebastian Hesser. Atticus Richard. Zoe Dinnerstein. Grant Leopold. Hadley Johnson. Weston Lowe. Luciana Esch Labanos. Nick Malensky. Luke Francis. Sage Evans. Ava Corbin. Sophia Toon. And last but not least, Astrid Ackerman. Those are all the middle schoolers.
Do I want to do a picture?
Okay. Maybe make an announcement, though, to ask them not to leave.
Yeah, tell them
But
not
ask
to
them not to leave.
If just before Joanne starts, after Joanne's done, but before everybody leaves, we'd like to take a picture with everyone up front with the award, if that's okay. Do you want to explain?
Yes. So these are Jazz All-State too. Great. So thank you so much for honoring the high school music program this evening. I am Joanne Lee, and I come on behalf of Mike Scarponi and myself. And tonight we have I have awards for the District Honors Festival, and as well, I understand Jazz All-State will be honored this evening. So let's get right to this. We traveled to Sanford High School back in October, and one thing that was very exciting for us this year was that we had 1/3 of the high school choir audition for the festival. Actually more than 1/3, and we had 1/3 of our choir make the festival this year, which was incredibly exciting. And just on my way here this evening, I found out that one of our students was added to the roster who was within 1 point, and they made an additional spot. So it was very exciting for that student. So thank you again for honoring these students this evening. So this evening we have the following students recognized: Ella Stanley for the treble choir at the District Festival, Laura Ryer for the District 1 Honors Treble Choir, Emma Willette. Many of these students this evening are participating in other sports, and there's a huge cross-country banquet this evening, which none of them are at right now. Emma Frothingham, who was selected for the mixed choir at the District 1 Festival. Lydia Branson, who is also at the cross-country banquet right now. Olivia Willette. Abigail Seifries. And now for the All-State Honors Jazz Festival for trombone, Zach Merrill. For this evening. For jazz tenor saxophone 1, Catherine Clay. For honors jazz ensemble trombone 3 for Maine All-State Jazz, Jack Sands. For this evening. For the lead trumpet for the jazz ensemble for the Maine State Honors Jazz Festival, Alex Ecker. And for the piano jazz combo, Alex Hansen. Okay. And a couple more. We had a large group that made this festival this year. For trumpet District 1, Alex Ecker. For tuba, many of these students are actually in rehearsal right now. We're jazz band, so ironically they're not here. For tuba, Heath Kennedy. For flute, for the District 1 Honors Festival, Sydney McFarland. For French horn, Marco Hansel. And last but not least, Luke O'Kelly for French horn for the District 1 Honors Festival.
Students don't mind coming up to the front, we'll just find somebody to take a picture.
Kathy, you always take pictures, I feel like. Do you have a phone? Oh, we got somebody. Ann Carney's going to take it. Thank you, Ann.
How about you guys kind of go in the front on your knee and have the high schoolers? Whatever. You're taller.
Yeah, but you guys have to scoot down so that
Yeah, you have to scoot down.
You got to use those strong quad muscles.
Stand immediately
behind the students, because with the distance, you kind of get lost.
They are. Okay. They're going to squat down. Because everyone's got to sit down as many times. You're going to lean a little.
School board lean in. There you go.
That's nice. Okay, we're squeezing in. You can get closer if you want. Or you girls can come behind here. Somebody can come back here to get closer. Okay. Someone, let's get closer. Sorry, my hand's going around. That's like the mom thing to do. Who's our photographer? Joanne.
Yay!
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. Table.
That's so nice. They really appreciate it.
He's touched on them.
Oh, Mike's got them. No, Mike's got them. Yeah, he's in jazz rehearsal tonight, so that's why he wasn't there.
That's exciting for you.
Yeah, Joanne Lee and Mike Scarponi.
No, I've done one together tonight. I don't know why you really don't.
So many thanks to Caitlin Ramsey, Mike Scarponi, and Joanne Lee, and all our students for coming out in this lovely weather. And we congratulate you for your hard work and your dedication to your passions. Thank you. Okay, so next we are moving on to another wonderful celebration of our nurse, Erin Taylor from Palm Cove Elementary School, won Nurse of the Year in Maine. Yes, big honor. And we have Jason Mandrides coming up.
Erin, did you want to talk? I know you didn't. No.
Do you want to at least come up and stand with me? Yeah, I will. Yes.
So you can be on TV.
Sit beside, I guess. Okay. So on Saturday, October 26th, Superintendent Wolfram and I had the pleasure of attending the Maine School Nurse of the Year award ceremony in Freeport, and it was truly an honor to see our amazing school nurse, Erin Taylor, receive this well-deserved recognition. We were so happy to be there for her. And it was wonderful to see she was surrounded by family and friends and colleagues. It was a really, really nice morning. So I just want to say a few words about Erin. I'll try to keep it brief. One thing that was tricky about this was it was actually kind of hard to plan this because it wasn't so much what great things do I include, but what great things do I leave out, because there's just so many things that Erin does for our school. So I'll start. Erin began her nursing career in 1999 and has developed an impressive resume in the past 20 years. She obtained her Bachelor of Science in Nursing from St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire, and her Master's in Community and Health from Canisius College in Buffalo, New York. Erin's career began in an adult hematology oncology unit at Yale New Haven Hospital in New Haven, Connecticut. After 1 year in this role, she transferred to a pediatric school-age unit, also at Yale New Haven Hospital, where she worked for 2 years. The following 2 years of her career were spent on a pediatric bone marrow transplantation unit at Boston Children's Hospital. Did I get it right so far? After Erin and her husband relocated to Maine to start a family, she finally found Pond Cove and began serving as a substitute nurse. Then, lucky for us, she accepted a permanent full-time school nurse position at our school. Erin is an outstanding school nurse. Her daily work with students, parents, and staff is exemplary. Above all else, Erin cares about people. Erin impacts the safety of our school community outside of her nursing responsibilities as well. Throughout the past several years, she has been a driving force for significant improvements in the school district's emergency response plan. She has teamed with administration, attended trainings, and has spent countless hours developing safety protocols for Pond Cove and the entire school district. All of this time, her motivation was to ensure the safety of our children. In addition, Erin is a strong advocate for increasing opportunities for students to become more physically active. I was so pleased to see her vision for a state-of-the-art playground and outdoor classroom become a reality this year. Erin spent many hours working with teachers, parents, administration, and our landscape architect on this project. She has played a pivotal role in the playground design, including playground structure and material selection. She has also been highly influential in the planning of the gardens and outdoor classroom area of the playground. As a result, she will leave a lasting impression for years to come on Pond Cove School. In closing, thank you, Erin, for all you do for our community, and congratulations.
Come shake our hand.
You don't want to shake our hands? I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Erin, both for being who you are and doing what you do. Thank you. Next, we have Laura Briggs from the middle school presenting a sabbatical proposal.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to share with you my proposal for a sabbatical in the spring of 2021. A bit of background about myself first. I teach language arts, sixth grade language arts and social studies at the middle school. I've been teaching there. This is my 9th year of teaching. Before that, I taught for 4 years in South Portland, and prior to that, I was a city planner for 15 years. I'm also a Cape Elizabeth resident, and I have 3 daughters who've gone through the Cape school system, so I'm very committed to this school district, both as a parent and as a staff member. When my youngest graduated in 2016, I began to do some volunteer work outside with the Portland Adult Education organization, and worked both as a volunteer ESL teaching assistant. I have been tutoring new immigrants for their citizenship exam, and this summer had the opportunity to teach English to our asylum seekers at the Expo Center, which was a tremendous experience. And I'm sharing that because it really has motivated, in some part, this sabbatical. Another deciding factor for me was that about a year ago, I slipped on black ice and broke my back. I must say that I had a little bit of PTSD this morning. But that, although I was back at school about 5 days after that happened, I had a lot of time to lay on my back when I would get home from school and think about where I wanted to go next. What did I want to do professionally? What did I want to do personally? And that led me to the conclusion, together with the volunteer work I've been doing for PAE, that I really wanted to give some thought to taking a sabbatical. And I'm here today to propose that sabbatical experience to you. What I would like to do is take the spring semester of 2021 off, so not this spring semester, but the following year, and to use that time for some personal travel with my spouse, and also spend the rest of that time designing a new course for our 8th graders. What I'm interested in doing is creating an integrated humanities course, social studies and language arts, that looks at U.S. history and literature through the lens of immigration movements and personal immigration experiences. My hope is to take a historical perspective and share with my students our history through the eyes of our immigrants. I see this class as being a very engaging, hands-on class. We would be doing a lot of simulations, debates, Socratic seminars. We would be doing field trips. We would be bringing speakers in. So the idea would really to get students to be engaged in a very hands-on way. I also see it as an opportunity for some very rigorous reading and writing experiences. I anticipate that we'll be reading from historical fiction, government documents, poetry, memoirs, and we would be doing a wide variety of types of writing. I think this is an opportunity that's well meshed with the 8th grade developmental stage of life, shall we say, because in many ways 8th graders are similar to our immigrants. They're asking themselves a lot of questions. Who am I? How do I fit in? How do I create resilience in confronting difficult situations, and how do I grow and anticipate new situations in my life? Many of the same things that our immigrants are dealing with. So I see this as a real opportunity to engage our kids in a different way. To do this right, I feel like I really need some time to sit back, reflect, make contacts with members of the community. And the reason for that is that an integral component of this class would be the last 2 to 3 months of the year. During that time, I would like to match up every single one of my students with a new immigrant in the community, either in the form of doing field research or community service. So after spending the entire year looking at immigration, in a historical and literary perspective, I would then put my students in touch with members of our community here in Maine. I would envision that doing this in a way that students are linked up with people according to their own interests. So a young woman who's interested in business might be connected with a new entrepreneur within our community to find out what she's been doing within the Portland community. A student who has an interest in art or music would be paired up to work with an African immigrant, for example, who's doing work here in the Portland area in the arts. Perhaps someone who's interested in soccer would be coordinating a soccer league with Somali students over at the Boys and Girls Clubs. I see a wealth of opportunities for doing this, and I would anticipate using my sabbatical as a time to make the contacts in the community and set up what is a pretty ambitious program, I think, for our 8th graders. I've met with our administrators. They seem to be very supportive of this idea. I'm really excited about the opportunity to step away from my day-to-day teaching and give some thoughtful reflection to this opportunity, and hopeful that you will be supportive of this idea. Next steps at the moment are for me to submit a final proposal, which is due November 30th, and I'm ready to do that. I just wanted to meet with you beforehand. And then there needs to be a sabbatical committee formed, and that committee would be composed of the superintendent, an administrator, and 1 member from the school board. My understanding is that that committee would work with me then to review the proposal, finalize it, iron out any details that might remain, with the goal, according to the contract, for that to be voted on and decided on by March 15th of this year. That would give both the school district and myself ample time to prepare for my leave of absence. I am very hopeful that one of you would be willing to serve on that committee in the process. Thank you. So all of this is laid out in the teaching contract. I'm excited to take advantage of this opportunity. It was recently brought to my attention that one of the 5 objectives of the Futures search process is global competency. And that states our students will be personally responsible, aware, empathetic, and engaged local and global citizens. I feel my proposal really fits in very well with this goal. I'm excited to try something new. I'm excited to continue working with our 8th graders and to be a member of this community, and hope you'll support me in this idea. Do you have any questions?
I have a question more for you. So in the absence, who covers her time during class?
We would have to get a substitute teacher and a semester for that semester.
Okay, that's relatively easy.
Well, hopefully. We seem to have a very good pool compared to other districts at this time, so yes, I think we could find somebody.
So is it envisioned that this would become part of the pilot experiential learning program that we have this year? Would this be a...
So I've talked it over with our administrators, our principal, assistant principal, curriculum director, as well as the superintendent. And my hope would be that after spending the semester creating the program, that I would be able to come back in September of 2021 and teach the class. And I put all that effort in if you're not going to teach it. And they've been very supportive of that idea. And one of the things I think over the next few months would be to figure out how that fits in, for example, with the existing aquaculture class. You know, so we would have that opportunity, we'd have this opportunity. It's a couple years down the line, so who knows, maybe somebody else will jump into, and we could have a variety of things for teachers to choose from. Something I've been thinking a little bit about in terms of replacement for myself. Of course, as a teacher, you're always hesitant to leave your ducklings with in somebody else's hands. But I am aware that a couple of my colleagues are thinking about retirement, and we may have some transitions going on in the school district. And it strikes me that it might be a wonderful opportunity to have a long-term sub come in who could potentially then be a new, young, energetic teacher that we would hire afterwards. You know, just as something, a thought I have as well. Potentially that person replacing me might be a future colleague at some point.
I just am asking for a tiny bit of clarity. First of all, I think this sounds incredibly exciting, and thank you for bringing the idea forward. It does fit in with one of our goals in broadening the students' horizons and connecting them with this culture that is growing around us. Just to clarify, you want to create this program, and obviously you want to teach it since you're creating it. And it's not is it the idea of it to be an ongoing every year class? Not just a one-time shot and then it's over with, right?
I think it would be ongoing. I guess that would depend on administration.
Of course,
and
but
what
that's
the
the
school
hope
district
at
desired.
this
But
point,
yeah, it's a lot of creating curriculum is really creating curriculum is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I happen to love doing it. I think a lot of people would say, boy, this sounds like a lot of work for a sabbatical, but I happen to find that to be one of the most inspiring parts of teaching. But it takes a lot of work and time and effort, and so I think once you make it, why wouldn't you teach it? And then most of us are continually refining, so we try things out, and we say we tweak it for the next year, so that's what I would envision happening.
And how do you envision those connections with the immigrants? Those will probably shift and change. Have you considered how challenging that might be if this is an ongoing course that's taught? And does that seem feasible?
That's a good question. I think those are some of the issues I'll need to be working out over the course of planning it. But you're right, I would have to be refreshing and renewing those.
Yeah.
Right now, what I've just been doing is every time I see something, I have this file that's going, and I just throw things in there, and it's getting bigger and bigger. It's just amazing how much is going on in Portland right now. But yes, you're right. That would have to be kind of continually refreshed and managed. One reason I teach 6th grade right now, but one reason I looked into doing this with 8th graders is I think 8th graders have greater maturity. I don't see 6th graders being, much as I love them, being quite ready for this. But I think it might be an ideal opportunity to make some connections with the 8th graders and the greater community.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd love to see this in the high school as well. So what kind of research have you done thus far to see if anybody across the country has done something similar or in that realm? And how much do you think you need to recreate from something from scratch versus what's available? You're going to do cookie cutters and carbon?
Right. I'm not aware of anything specifically exactly like this, but there are a lot of people doing work with immigration. I took a course this summer. Some of this idea percolated this summer when I took a course on DBQs, document-based questions, and began to look at other work that was out there around immigration issues. And there's quite a bit of material. What I've always enjoyed doing as a teacher is finding that material, culling it, and making it even better. People who've had, and I've had some of your children as my students, know that I really like to create simulations. And I find there's a good base material out there, but a lot of room for improvement. And so I'd like to start with materials, but then build upon it. Next week, we've been very lucky that our principal has given us the opportunity to have 2 professional observation days a year, and mine is coming up next week, and I contacted Casco Bay High School to see if I could go observe them, and I was thinking of doing King as well, and they told me that their 10th and 11th grade classes are actually doing some of these very same issues. So they're somewhat older than the 8th graders, but I'm excited to go over there next week and begin to see what they're doing over at Casco Bay.
Laura, are you envisioning teaching this class for 8th graders but remaining with 6th graders, or switching all the way over to 8th grade entirely?
I think that's something we have to work out with Kyle and Troy. I would anticipate more likely it would be staying with 8th graders, possibly 7th and 8th graders. It's a pretty, with the schedule, it might be tricky to do 6th and 8th, but those type of logistics still need to be sorted out. And of course, because it's 2 years out, it's a little tricky because you don't know where all the other teachers are either.
Right. Well, I want to commend you for being bold and going out there and doing what you want to do, and bringing it back to, hopefully, to the school and to our students. And I hope that you serve as a model for your peers as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exciting. Okay. Administrative reports. Principals, Troy.
Jeff is in Denmark,
That's right.
so he will not be presenting.
He's not watching us from Denmark?
He's watching. Oh, yeah, he's watching. Yeah. He's just not talking.
On the edge of the seat.
Hi, Troy.
So I'm going to switch it up. It's usually Jason, but since I want to see if I can totally confuse you on everything Laura just said.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to do that. But I will say that it's exciting to see. It's always, I think, a goal as a school is to inspire your students, and it's really hard to do that if you don't have inspired staff. And to take advantage of, I think, their personal passions and to build off those, we all of a sudden become a stronger school. So when Laura came to me with that idea, I thought it was great. Had no idea how it would work, but I said, sure, keep going. And I just think that it's always, I think sometimes trying to get the details so clear in the beginning that it can sometimes stop really good ideas. So we're kind of going to work that out in the plan of 8th grade, 7th grade, how does that all look? But currently we're working really hard to try to find ways for our 8th graders to have a different experience than our 5th graders. That's the one thing I've noticed since I've been there. It's really, I think people get kind of sick of, they feel like 5th graders when they're in 8th, and so we're trying hard to kind of create some different opportunities, and this sounds like a perfect opportunity for something like that. So I'm happy to see that our staff is starting to look outside of just their classroom and not feeling restricted by the curriculum and what's been done in the past, and start really thinking about what they can do differently and how they can make connections. So good job, Laura. Thank you. I think that's inspiring for people, and I want to support that. I have to say that Caitlin and Emily, although their commitment to stay at this meeting and support me seems to have left, their commitment to our kids is amazing. And that's why our music program is strong. I go in every day, I'm there at 7, and I always walk into music playing in the band room. And they're happy. Like, kids seem to be happy that they're there. They're not dragging stuff in. So their commitment is really what is behind it. That's why we have as many kids doing what they do. So I'm proud of them, and they do a great job. I got some other stuff. We recently hosted the Apple Tech team through the MLTI project. It seems like people just think they get laptops, so there's actually a really deep professional development service that goes along with that often schools do not tap into. So Chris Moniz has been a great connection. Susan Dana, they've kind of tackled that and invited them into our school and gone through the process of making it fit for a day. And that's just, so it was free professional development for our staff and all the students in 7th grade. So kudos for them for taking advantage of that. And then lastly, I'm excited to say that we're planning our grand opening for the renovated Teachers Lounge. I think that our goal really, and it was all thanks to CEF, and they've kind of supported and funded that process for us. Already we have a teacher's room with a sink, with water. It's all set up. It looks beautiful with tables and comfy chairs. And all of a sudden there are teachers in there. and before they never would go there. So I think that the goal was to make that become kind of the center of our school, and a place and a hub where teachers can sit and chat, and sometimes the best ideas come up in those moments, and there are moments that I've never really seen happen since I've been here, and it's already started. I go in there now, there's people there, we moved the mailboxes in there so that they have to go in there, and it kind of gets you going. But that's been a really exciting thing. So we're going to start off, we're going to open it up and have a grand opening. They're using it now, but we're going to have a little kickoff to thank Steve coming right up. So, any questions? No? Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks, Joy.
Thank you.
Jason, you want to come on up?
Thank you. You've already heard a lot from me, but I'm happy to be back up talking about some of the celebrations at Pond Cove as we start week 11, which is hard to believe. I think I have that right. It goes by so fast. So a couple things going on at Pond Cove, and I know I've talked about Peaceful Pond Cove a lot, but Peaceful Pond Cove is really becoming a part of who we are as a school, so I love to continue to share information about that. So we've continued this year to use our paper chain that we build as a community as a visual representation of our commitment to safe, respectful, and responsible behavior at school. And so our chain now has gone all the way around the lobby to the base of the stairs, and our next goal is to go up the stairs and to the end of the third grade wing. And something that I wanted to kind of open an invitation that if any of you would like to come and visit the school and maybe meet with some students and have them take you on a little tour and tell you about the chain, what it means, and how we build it together, if you send me an email, I could gather I'd probably gather a group of fourth graders to kind of facilitate that. So I would invite you to do that. We had our first Peaceful Pond Cove school-wide assembly on October 12th, and it was really cool. It was the focus was on how respectful, responsible, and safe behavior impacts our school in a positive way. And what was really neat about this is, for the first time, other than some introductions made by staff, the assembly was really presented entirely by a team of fourth graders, this time from Mrs. Bucci's class. So it was really impressive. It was about 20 minutes long. We do actually, instead of a school-wide, we do 2 assemblies. We do a K1, 2, and then a 3, 4. It's just more manageable for the space and that we have, but it works out really well. So that was really exciting. Just quickly, our parent-teacher conferences, another great success this year. We're always so impressed with the parent involvement we have, and this year was no different. I actually also wanted to thank teachers for teachers work really hard to accommodate parent schedules, so they provide a lot of conferences on the designated conference days, but they also do a lot of before school and after school. So it's very common for a week or two around conference time to see teachers at 7:30 at Pond Cove meeting parents at the door and letting them in and taking them down for a conference before work for parents. So it's just really impressive to see that commitment. And finally, just wanted to let you know that we are once again holding our annual holiday season non-perishable food collection for local families in need. And so if you walk into our lobby, you'll see lots of tables set up with boxes, and students and staff are bringing in items to be donated to Judy's Pantry, which is right in Cape Elizabeth. So those are just a few things going on. Any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Del, you want to come up next? Yeah.
Hello. With regard to special education news, I'm just going to go from school to school. At Pond Cove, the K team and the special education staff had 30-day reviews on students that transferred in from CDS this year. And they did a wonderful job, and they have done a wonderful job starting the school year of supporting and programming for these our youngest students and their families. All right. At the middle school, with the acquisition of an additional intervention space, and I need to give a big shout out and
Sorry, that was me.
thank you to building administration and Jonathan Warner, who relocated his makerspace storage to make that happen. And if you had seen the storage, it was a big deal, and I really appreciate that, and I certainly want to thank him for that. Special education staff have been able to provide the needed social emotional educational interventions for both our younger and our older students at the middle school because of this additional space. At the high school, I just want a big shout out and thank you to the high school special education staff as they came together and covered, as one of our core members of the team was out for an extended period of time. And I just want to thank all of them. They did a wonderful job in her absence. As far as students, we're currently servicing 166 students in special ed. And we have 24 students in referral, and we have 2 students outplaced. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Dallas.
Good evening, everyone. So we had an in-service day on November 5th, Election Day, and it was very successful. And I'm not just saying that, it really was. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the day and why it was so successful. At Pond Cove, our classroom teachers spent the day working on science. In the morning, they received training on STEM Scopes, which is one of the 2 programs we've adopted to implement the learning targets that were developed last year. And by learning targets, just remember that means what we expect our students to know and be able to do by the end of the year. STEM Scopes is a comprehensive inquiry-based program that will help ensure common curriculum, instruction, and assessments, but only if our teachers know how to use it. So they spent 3 hours receiving training, and based on the feedback we received, I've actually never seen numbers like that. It was just overwhelmingly positive. And I've already had teachers come up to me and say, oh my gosh, based on that training, I've done X lesson. So that's really exciting. And then they had the afternoon to practice what they learned and to just continue working grade level teams collaboratively on science. So that was good. And then also in the morning, the middle school staff, the high school staff, and then the Pond Cove teachers who don't teach science, and I should say staff, not just teachers, they worked together in the morning, and their work was facilitated by our Great Schools Partnership coach, Ted Hall. And that work had 2 purposes. So the first was to give all of those people an opportunity to think about 3 of the goal areas that emerged from the future search process. So health and well-being, global competency, and multiple pathways and definitions of success. So specifically, they were asked to consider, what are we already doing in those areas? What could we hope to accomplish in those areas by the end of the year? And then what would require a couple of years? And that data is going to be shared with the district administrative team and will absolutely be used in drafting the strategic plan. And then a second purpose, though, of that morning, and really what helped make that work so meaningful was it was an opportunity for the staff in our 3 schools to get to know each other a little bit better. And there were some wonderful activities that got people moving and really did accomplish that purpose, I think. In fact, the feedback for that was so successful that we're bringing Ted back on December 4th, and he's going to be at Pond Cove working with those Pond Cove teachers who didn't get this opportunity. So then, where was I? So then that was just the morning. Then but I'm almost done, really. Then in the afternoon at the high school, the staff participated in an emergency management exercise. And then the
middle school teachers of science also got STEM Scopes training, but in the afternoon. And then other teachers, well, the rest of the staff got participated in suicide prevention training, and then they divided into two groups. And one group worked on interdisciplinary units, and another group, actually it was the teachers of 5th and 6th graders, and then the world language and allied arts teachers, they got to work on their grade books, which brings me to, and I am almost done here, a little bit of information on PowerSchool grading and reporting. So the teachers of 5th and 6th graders, so that would be the classroom teachers, world languages teachers, and allied arts teachers, are now using the standards features in PowerSchool to track and report student progress to the course learning targets. The standards features are superior to the traditional gradebook for this purpose, but as with any change, there's a learning curve, and it's taken a couple of months to work out the kinks. And I want to publicly thank our PowerSchool data gurus, Andrea Fuller and Dean Zaharis, for all of the work that they have done, because honestly, PowerSchool has been completely unhelpful, and if we didn't have them working things out on our behalf, anyway. So they really figured out the settings that needed to change to ensure that the grading and reporting is accurate, and also that it's user-friendly. So there may be people out there saying, yeah, not so user-friendly, and I just want to reassure those people that that Troy and I are going to be emailing parents in the next week or so with very specific directions. They may include screenshots, just because, not that it's more complicated than the traditional side, but you're just not used to it, so we want to help in that regard. So. And now I'm actually done. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Yeah, Kathy, I'm curious. I was glad to hear that the Tuesday, November 5th, included the strategic goals. And
Yes.
I was curious how the 3 goals that you selected were chosen, and when will you incorporate the other 2?
So I think, the other 2, so one is environmental stewardship, and the other one has 3 adjectives before the word facilities. Safe, effective,
yeah, okay.
Right? Help me out, yes.
Yeah.
So our feeling was that, that the staff would have maybe, there's less that they can contribute in terms of safe facilities than there would be in the other. There's less involved in terms of instruction and curriculum, and so that's why. We would have been too much to try to do 5. So we picked the 3 that we thought the staff would have the most, that would be most actionable for them.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable.
Oh, yeah, that's why we chose those 3.
But I do think that the environmental
yes, absolutely.
one can fit in also, and it'd be curious, not to spend as much time, it'd be curious to see how the staff responds to the facilities also, just like to see what kind of feedback could pour into the whole eventual planning process.
Great.
But what was the other thing I wanted to say? I'm so happy to hear that all 3 schools gathered together. I think similar to Laura Briggs going out on her own and doing something that might inspire other peers, that sort of gathering, that cross-pollination is going to inspire teachers to go further than they do. So I'm excited to hear that also.
Yeah, I think that part was really, really positive, and teachers were grouped, they were mixed groups, and a lot of thought went into placing people. Of course, when they first walked in, they were like, well, what do you mean? We have assigned seats.
Yeah.
But once they got over that, see, we're really no different from the students. Once they got over that, that was a real benefit, I think.
Oh, great. Thank you, Kathy.
No.
I got a question for I think you say PowerSchool.
Yes.
The instruction you're going to send, is that going to be via email, or since you have a good team, can you make that PDF instructions available with a link on the PowerSchool somewhere?
Yes, we can do both of those things.
So you may want to look at that, because if you send me an email, I'm going to look at it once and then we forget. But if I know it's available via PowerSchool app with a link, then it's easier.
That's a great idea. We'll be sure to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Percy? Hey.
Good evening. Last week, Superintendent Wolfram gave me some great leads, so I went up to Augusta and I met with several department directors up there. I met with Pat Hinckley from the Facilities, Safety, and Transportation Department, and she helped me with information that we needed to put in our application for the school bus purchase program. So we have an application in right now, and she seemed positive when she talked to me about this opportunity. We made it in time, thanks to Superintendent Wolfram, for the round 1 of the applications. Round 1 is usually the only set of applicants that get considered for funding. Round 2, the funding's all gone. So we will know in January about this for a completely grant-funded school bus. Wow. The second person I met with was Ann Panette, who is the director of the School Revolving Renovation Fund, and it was really positive. She said that right now 6 of our 12 applications are seriously being considered for funding. So she said that we should feel very positive about results for us out of those 6 that are being considered. And we will know in late January, by no later than the 1st of February on those items. And that's all the information she could give me, but I felt very positive. She was very positive with me with it. And the last person who was really helpful is Tyler Backus. He's the School Finance and Operations Director. And he led me in the direction for us to apply right now. We have actually asked for an adjustment in our calculation of our subsidy. And our team in the office helped gather information this specific adjustment is based on the out-of-district students that we have in our schools from other districts that receive more subsidy than Cape Elizabeth. So they will be, right now, they're going to be adjusting, hopefully, our calculation, and we would receive funding for this fiscal year and in the future. And this is the first time that this was announced, so we were right on that. And for all 3 of these things, we'll know about all 3 of these items in late January and 1st of February. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed. So our graph for the night, where we are with the general fund, the normal spending pattern would be 33% for our expenditures, and we are in the far right here for the 31%. So we will continue to monitor and make sure this stays. We feel comfortable being slightly under this percentage, so we'll make sure in the next few months that we continue on this rate heading into second semester. We also, the other exciting thing we've done is we've started the budget process for the new fiscal year. So that's what we're embarking on at this time. Yes. Any questions?
Marcy, do you feel that there was something that Ms. Panette was going to release a ranking or something like that in November? Will that ranking be released?
The ranking, there's been some complications with some other school districts related to this project, and they are still in the process. They got delayed, and they're still in the process of doing their ranking, but in that in the entire process, 6 of our applications are in there, and strong contenders.
Great, thank you.
The bus, is that a 100% grant or?
100% grant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's reimbursement, so we wouldn't get it till the following year.
Right,
But
correct. It's a 2-year program where you get awarded, and then the following year you get reimbursed.
It's amazing. Thank you, Marcy.
You're welcome.
Thank
you. Okay. Next, we have our superintendent update.
So we have a lot of good news. The Pond Cove Playground Committee has been selected as the Town of Cape Elizabeth 2019 Spirit of America Award winner. And I'm going to quote from the letter that I received from Thomas S. Coward, who is County Commissioner from District 4. So they've been recognized for their work as dedicated volunteers whose efforts at fundraising, planning, construction, and coordination of efforts to replace and rebuild the Pond Cove Elementary School playground exemplify volunteer service to the community and made a positive difference. So congratulations to the Pond Cove Playground Committee. That's pretty spectacular honor. More honors. Nate Carpenter and French teacher David Peary will be in Washington, D.C. They're leaving tomorrow afternoon. So they'll be there Thursday and Friday, where they will attend the recognition ceremony and be presented with a plaque for the National Blue Ribbon Schools. And they will also receive a flag as symbols of the achievement of the Cape Elizabeth High School. So congratulations to actually all the staff in our district, because we know that it takes everyone to get there. So congratulations. On October 30th, the members of the District Emergency Management Team met with Emily Castor and Ron Jones, and they are from Cumberland County Emergency Management Association. They reviewed and gave us feedback on our emergency management plan, which you approved at the last meeting, the last board meeting. And we discussed next steps for the team. And one of the suggestions was that we plan to implement is to conduct parent nights around the student safety plan. So we will be starting to plan for those at our next meeting. We have 7 teachers who are participating in the Leadership Institute that we are able to offer through the Greater Sebago Education Association, which is our regional association. So they have to do a project, so they're researching bias, and they are going to work on developing strategies that we can implement in our district to reduce and eliminate bias in our schools. So that's very exciting work. And you have a letter in your packets inviting you to a reception at 10 a.m. on December 10th at the Hall of Flags in the main State House in celebration of some of our middle school students. And their work has been accepted to be on display at the Maine Department of Education. So they're having a reception in honor of those students. And you're invited to attend the reception, and there is an email address that you need to RSVP if you're planning on attending. But congratulations to all our students whose work was accepted, and it's a very high honor. It'll be very exciting to see it on display in Augusta. So, thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, moving on to new business, item 8A. May I have a motion, please?
I move we approve Emily Conroe for, what does EL stand for?
English language.
English language, okay, just wanted to make sure.
English learners, English learners.
I always thought it was ELL. That's
well, they change it all the time, so now it's EL.
I just want to, acronyms can be tricky for people at home, and I wanted to say the full name. So I move we approve Emily Conroe for English language teacher.
I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Donna, do you want to just describe this addition, because it's, I believe it's, she's sharing it with.
So we had put in the budget for this year a full-time position, and we hired, our present teacher is at a 0.8 FTE. She is working extensively with students in Pond Cove and in the high school, and just felt that it would be more effective if we took that position, increased it to the full-time position, and split it between 2 people. She just, because of the scheduling, she cannot be where she needs to be. So, and she was fine with going back to half-time. So she's 5/10, and then Emily is now 5/10. So Emily will be working mostly at Pond Cove, a few middle school students, and then Jessica will be at the high school and middle school. So,
great. Thank you. All those in favor? Item 8B, may I have a motion, please?
I move we approve Paige Buchanan for kindergarten teacher.
I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Donna, do you want to add some content to this one? Because we don't normally hire a kindergarten teacher in November.
So we hired our new kindergarten teacher, Bethany Carlin. She just started when her husband was transferred to Florida. So it was a shame, bad timing, but it happens. So we were fortunate enough to have a great pool of candidates, and I know the team is very excited. Talked with Jason today, and the team's very excited about Paige joining them. So,
Thank you. All those in favor? Glad we could find a great candidate in November. Awesome. Okay, moving on to item 8C. It's quite lengthy, but may I have a motion, please?
I move we take action to approve the following 2019-2020 co-curricular stipends, and there's a lengthy list in our packet. Should I read them, or?
You could just refer to it.
Refer to it.
Great. Second. Thank you. Any discussion?
I'd like to make a comment that there are a few in here that these positions have already started. They've already begun working with students, and I think the board would appreciate if the athletic administration could get those names to the board before they actually begin working with the students, and not after.
Yeah.
Just in case.
That's a really good point.
Because I know that 7th and 8th grade boys basketball has already started.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, moving on to item 8D. Can I have a motion, please?
I move we approve the following 2019-2020 peer mentors. So Kim Hutchell would mentor the new teacher Karen Jenkins, and Mary Dulac would mentor Emily Conroe.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Are you in favor, Elizabeth?
I did.
Oh, you said. Okay. Item 8E, may I have a motion, please?
Go for it, Elizabeth.
I move we approve the CEHS Model UN field trip to Boston, Massachusetts, Boston University, February 7th through February 9th of 2020.
I second.
Any discussion? Thank you, Elizabeth, for making the adjustment at the beginning of the meeting. It's really important to have the details. Thank you. All those in favor? Okay. Item 8F. May I have a motion, please?
I move we formally accept the SEAF grant awarded on November 4th, 2019 for the Cape Elizabeth Middle School for a mindfulness practice program for teachers and students for $12,570.
I second.
Any discussion?
I have a comment. Is this per our policy that we created a couple years ago that we appreciate all of the grants that SEAF supports? They do a tremendous job supporting our schools here in various ways, but in the policy, is it $10,000 or higher, or if it shifts the building structure that requires I'm looking at Elizabeth because we were on the policy committee together, shifts the upkeep of the facilities.
Or would have an ongoing impact to the budget.
Exactly, that it needed to come to the board, and that's why this number is coming to us, and most...
Because it's more than 10,000.
Exactly, and that's why most grants do not come to us for approval, so...
And actually, there were 9 grants approved for a total of $30,195.
That's fantastic.
Thanks for reminding everyone of that.
Yeah, so I guess I would just like to say thank you to SEAF formally and publicly here for all that you do for this district and these kiddos. Thank you.
Hello, Kimberly. We are about to vote on considering to accept the SEAF grant award on November 4th for the middle school mindfulness practice program for teachers and students for $12,570. All those in favor? finishes new business. Now we're moving on to, policies. G, but there's no vote. So, Cope, do you want to help us out?
Well, actually, so tonight we do have two policies
this needs to be a vote,
before us, and they are for a second reading for a vote. So what we did was, we have an array of policies that the committee is looking at right now, but only two of them are really ripe for voting at this time. So those are the affirmative action, non-discrimination / equal opportunity and affirmative action policy, AC. And we brought this forward to the board for first reading at the last meeting, and the only change to that is that we've added the terminology for gender identity and expression. So what that does is it broadens the scope of the policy to include that as a class that's touched upon within the policy. And then the other policy that is before us for a vote is hazing. That's policy ACAD. And it's the, just to go back to the AC, we received no additional comments from the public, and there was no additional changes that were suggested at the meeting, policy committee meeting. ACAD, the change remains suggesting that we add a clause to the end of the paragraph that sort of sets out what injurious hazing would include, to add the qualifier regardless of the student's willingness to participate in the activity. And what that does is it carves out instances where a student may say, well, I voluntarily did this, but it's not really up to the student to volunteer for an activity that might otherwise be considered injurious hazing. So on ACAD, we also did not receive any additional comments, and in the discussion of the policy committee, we'd agree that those were we were happy with the suggested edits, and so for these two policies, we are presenting them as a second reading and a vote tonight to adopt them.
Okay, great, thank you. Do you want to make the motion, Hope? Or?
Sure. I move that we adopt the proposed changes suggested from the policy committee to policy AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and affirmative action, and to policy ACAD, hazing.
Second. Any discussion? Thank you, Hope, Laura, Elizabeth, for all your work on the policy committee. All those in favor? Well, look at this. Okay. So moving on to item 9. I don't know how to do this.
I'm going to do this for you. So Susanna has been on the board for 6 years, and her term is ending. This is her final board meeting. So I'm wondering if any board members have anything they'd like to say in honor of her time here. Go ahead, Hope.
I will jump in. Susanna, I've only been able to serve with you for a short time, but I do want you to know that your impact has been greatly felt. I've learned so much from you in this short time, and I want you to know that your impact will be felt, I believe, going forward, in that you set, I believe, a great tone for the board. You're with every action and every thing that you participated in, you exhibit civility and care and thoughtfulness, and I think that's what we all aspire to. And I think even though you're leaving us, and I wish you wouldn't, I think that we will live on, and your lessons will live on. And I really have appreciated working with you, and learning from you.
Thank you so much.
I'll chime in. Susanna, I echo everything that Hope said, learning from you. And I think that you have so many great qualities as a leader, particularly things that I admire, your open-mindedness and sensitivity in which you approach issues. And also, I think the biggest attribute is your willingness to listen and listen first. And I think as a leader, a lot of leaders don't necessarily possess that. They're sort of the first to speak. And with you, you're not the first to speak. You sit back, you listen before offering your own feedback or trying to steer the conversation in one way or the other. You're always the first to listen, so I always appreciate that about you. And then also when people do speak up, you're very encouraging. I don't speak up so much, or at least I don't think I do, but when I do, I can always kind of hear this little voice in the back saying, that was a good question. That was a really important comment. And it does encourage participation, which makes a great board. And I'm learning as a member of the school board that it takes a lot of dedication, particularly in time, and to be a chair, I would think that's like ×3. So we thank you for the time and dedication that you've given to the school board, but most importantly, our schools and our children. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next, finish this side of the... I think another reason why you want to move on is because you've been chair for too long. And yeah, I've seen you in actions, and I've seen those emails that the public does not get to see. And man, is it a hard job? Because you have to respond to every one of those emails. And like Laura says, you do take time. You don't respond right away. You analyze your thoughts, and that's just an amazing job you have done as chair since I've been on the board. And you know very well that I'm on the board is because of you. You see your encouragement, even though at times it might have been difficult, you have pulled me back up and made me stand on my 2 feet. And you have helped me with campaign, and you have helped me with meeting the people and showing me the whole work. So you have been my role model, and you will be my role model in this community. So make sure you do great things so I can follow your footsteps.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So I have enjoyed so much working with you. I knew you before coming on the board, and I knew you to be a person who cares tremendously and sets a tone and a mood of warmth and welcoming wherever you go. And I think that that has been so true here for the board. You've really you've held us all with tremendous caring, and I think we've been through challenges. It has not been an easy 2 years to be chair, and you've handled it all with such grace and tremendous sensitivity to all involved. And I have also tremendously appreciated your writing, your letters. Your responses are all very, very well written, sensitive, and caring, and to the point of whatever the issue may be. And I think the same is true for the newsletters that you've done, and I think you've done a wonderful job in continuing to increase our communication with the community. And thank you. You're just you've been a consistently positive, steady force for us.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thanks a lot.
I'm guessing you guys like to go last, so I'm going to go ahead and say that as the person who probably has had the best fortune on this board to serve with you for your entire tenure on the board, I'm so grateful. Every committee we have been on together, every opportunity we have had to work together, you have always been student-centered and student-focused. And while we always take everything into consideration, and we have to think about teachers' needs, and we have to think about buildings and that sort of thing, you always help us stay on course for what is best for the students. And I am just grateful to that. And lots of people have talked about your leadership, but I also, I'd like to hark back to when you first got on the board and you were new and you were very eager to learn, and you brought in very different perspectives and different voices. If you can think back to the days with David Hillman and John Christie and that whole crew, and you brought a new voice, and it was welcome. and I'm going to miss you. We were a leadership team together for several years. We went through how many superintendent searches together? And it was just a pleasure to work with you. Your dedication, your thoughtfulness, so many conversations, and just the care that you bring to this school department will be missed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so settle down, because I wrote something. And what's actually kind of interesting is I spent time thinking of this. Everybody has touched upon something I wrote about, which I think just speaks even that much more poignantly to Susanna and the quality of person that she is. But it is an honor to have this opportunity to speak to you all about Susanna. She has served on this board for 2 terms, a total of 6 years, 2 as vice chair and 2 as chair. She has served on many committees, including Sub-Finance Committee, Policy, PAS, Building Committee, and she has participated in many searches for administrators, including Superintendent, Pond Cove Principal, Special Ed Director. Throughout all the changes in district leadership, including a new middle school principal, Susanna maintained stability, and as Superintendent Wolfram likes to say, she kept the arrows moving in the right direction. This all amounts to a tremendous amount of time donated for the betterment of our schools, teachers, and education here in Cape Elizabeth. What has become very clear after working with Susanna for the past 4 years, though, is that it all comes down to the students. And it is so clear that the well-being of every student is at the center and heart of all of her choices and decisions. Some of the ways she has done this is to help raise the overall level of expectation and accountability here in the district. Helping to create better communication, she has fostered a community with more cohesiveness. Susanna initiated the joint town council and school board finance meetings, later named Sub-Finance Committee, in preparation for budget season. This helped make the budget process smoother and more effective, allowing the town to have a clearer idea of the board's challenges and hopes. In my opinion, and I would guess in others as well, these meetings have improved our process and resulted in wonderful collaboration. She has also consistently written an extremely detailed school board newsletter that is shared with all members of the school community. Susanna has shared excerpts of these newsletters to the Courier to help inform those living in the town who do not have students in the system and would otherwise not be knowledgeable of the workings of the schools. As a school board, we are charged with 3 responsibilities: creating policy, setting the budget for the upcoming year, and overseeing our superintendent. Last year, at the arrival of a new superintendent, Susanna took it as her responsibility to reinstate an evaluation. This was done with meaning and care, as Susanna, along with myself and Kimberly, revised the old evaluation question by question with input from other board members and followed through with a thorough and thoughtful process. In the end, in typical Susanna fashion, the answered questions were synthesized and presented clearly in a way that is helpful feedback for growth and reflection. Susanna has set the stage for this to continue, as with the earlier mentioned newsletter, for the future. She is completely invested in helping the Cape Elizabeth schools continue to improve. As an important contributing member of the building committee, she spent extensive time going around to various schools, photographing their facility renovations, doing research about their funding, and then presenting her findings back to us as a reference point. This information has been vital in the building committee as we discuss options moving forward and is referred to often. Her commitment and heart are so invested that she has told us she would like to remain on the building committee even after her term ends, if we let her. Yes, Susanna, we want you and we need you, so please keep coming. I'm truly sad to see her move on from her position as a school board member, let alone chair. She has set a high bar about what it means to be on the board, and I am grateful not only for her time she has devoted over the years, but the deep integrity that she has brought to being a member of this board. Thank you for all you have done for this district. We'll miss your energy, enthusiasm, and dedication, and I hope you enjoy your free Tuesday nights.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All those words and letter mean so much to me, and I will keep them with me forever. And,
I was going to give it, but I'm going to let her roll, and then we'll come in afterwards. Thank you.
Because I have something to say, too. Okay. So, but I really do appreciate it, and I love everybody on the board. I will miss you. I will not miss Tuesday nights, but all right, so here I go. It's my turn. The past 6 years have been enormously important to me on so many levels. The people I have come to know and admire being a large part of it. I have been awed by the dedication and perseverance I've witnessed from all of you. The world of public education is not for the faint of heart. It stems from a solid belief that education is a necessary right, essential to our democracy, access to equality, and pursuit of personal dreams. Education makes freedom worthwhile. Together and individually, I have seen you support and nurture these core ideals with deep conviction and true success, creating experiences for our students which will forever impact their lives. Thank you, Donna and Jeff, Troy, Jason, Kathy, and Dal for making education your vocation. Marcy, in some ways I'm bummed that I won't be working with you on the budget cycle because I have a feeling it's going to be a whole lot better, but I'm not bummed enough, so I'm going to say it. Donna, thank you in particular for making Cape Elizabeth School Department your new home. We are very fortunate to have you leading our schools. In the short time that you have been here, you have accomplished much and championed many efforts. The undertaking of a new website for one, and an unprecedented, straightforward budget season. Most importantly are the steps you took to form a new strategic plan. You should feel very proud of the process, as I am very proud of the work and the direction our schools are headed. To my fellow school board members, you too have inspired me with your commitment, time, conviction, and courage on behalf of all of our current and future students. Philip, if you're listening, thank you for stepping up. You will soon find out why courage is part of the job. In getting to know you at the retreat, I have no doubt that you will be a strong asset to this board. I wish you the best in your new role and leave you in excellent hands. Laura, thank you also for stepping onto the board 1 year ago. With a full-time job and young children at home, you truly demonstrate that we all can do more for what we believe in. Although our time has been limited to full board meetings, I have appreciated your thoughtfulness and Southern influence. Thank you. Nasser, thank you for being you. I've known you since our work on the Cape Diversity Coalition and can honestly say that you have the biggest heart of anyone I know and are as playful as a puppy. Your life experiences have offered you a unique perspective and insight, and I am grateful that you share these with all of us. Hope, thank you for being the calmest one of all. During times of turmoil, I have been so appreciative of your even keel and ability to see through the fog, not to mention your ability to synthesize policies into succinct and coherent terms for the rest of us, and your loving influence on a certain town councilor. Kimberly, thank you for keeping our enrollment numbers steady. I look forward to seeing what the future holds for students. Harper's age. I have admired your ability to ask thoughtful questions and bring us all to the crux of the issues, as well as your constructive support as a co-vice chair. Working closely with you and Heather over the past year has been very gratifying and fun. I am positive that you will continue paving a path that has all children's best interest at the front. Elizabeth, feels like a breakup. We have served together on the board the longest in numerous capacities, shouldering many challenges and celebrating various achievements together. Because of you, we persevered and didn't stop searching for the right superintendent until we found her. In your roles as chair and finance chair, you have given the board clarity, insight, and guidance. I thank you for all that you have done and will continue to do for our students. Thank you for showing me how to lead. Heather, my soul-supporting and industrious vice chair of the past 2 years. Thank you for always knowing when to check in and keeping me on track. Together, along with Kimberly, we've had to face a lot of situations that I bet no one expected. Through it all, though, your intelligence, kindness, and faith in me kept things from becoming overwhelming. There can be a lot of pressure being chair, but I have no doubt that you are ready and will lead the board with real grace. Personally, I want to thank my husband Rob and my 3 children, Aiden, Jude, and Freya, for the time they have given up in order to let me pursue my school board experience. Their sacrifice and support has never been lost on me, and I feel blessed to have a family that fully recognizes the importance of this work. 6 years ago, when I was debating whether or not to run for school board, I was conflicted because I had just signed a lease for an art studio and was looking forward to devoting more time to painting. However, I couldn't get over the sense that I was compelled to do more than paint. Then one day, for the first time, I saw a bumper sticker that read, "Matter More," and it clicked. I knew in that moment that I needed to do more and that I wanted to be more for more people. I went home and searched up Matter More, but couldn't find anything related to that sticker. So it became and remains my own little mantra. Lo and behold, 2 years ago, I discovered that Bangor Savings put out the Matter More sticker, and that it didn't have any connection with the promotion of public service. Oh well, it's still mine, and as I prepare to leave the board, I feel confident that I, along with my fellow board members, administrators, and teachers, have made a difference for the benefit of our students, our community, and our democracy. My hope is that someday, when my children are older, that they will look back on their experiences within Cape Elizabeth schools and recognize that they were valued, respected, and empowered to do not only what they dream up, but to also matter more. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to miss you. Thank you.
Thank you. To honor this, we have a gift for you. Do you want to open it?
Okay.
I think we should open it so that everybody can see what's inside.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Beautiful.
It's well deserved.
Thank you. It's beautiful. It's a little moon up there. Yeah. Thank you all so much. It's beautiful. It almost looks like a painting, which is interesting. It's a photograph. Anyway, thank you all very much.
Make it your painting, just put it Matter More.
Just a bunch of bumper stickers. Okay, well, just cruising on in. Committee reports. Policy Committee is already spoken. Technology Committee.
Well,
we got to do agenda requests.
Sorry. Okay.
I was actually going to,
Oh, I'm all flustered.
Yeah, you're all flustered. We got to do agenda requests.
Okay.
do you want to go back to 10?
Yes.
Yeah, agenda requests.
Yes. Any agenda requests?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Committee reports. Policy.
So I appreciate you trying to save me from having to speak again, but I actually had set aside the comments that weren't part of the vote. So just as a side note, we are in the midst of discussions of ACAA, which is the harassment and sexual harassment of students, along with JLF, which is reporting child abuse and neglect, and JLFA, which is child sexual abuse prevention and response, and the associated procedures and forms. So we had a very good meeting. We've had 2 meetings in October. We added one because we had so much to talk about. We wanted to have another meeting to sort of help move things quickly. We had students, administrators, several staff members. We had the chief of police. And ultimately, there's a lot of work to be done to sort of get the group to clarify some of the issues around whether or not the policies, how they directly address the issue of sexual assault and where that falls within these policies, and then the related issues of how is confidentiality treated with respect to students who come to various staff members. So there's not all staff members look exactly the same. So there's teachers, but there's also counselors and psychologists who who have other, requirements of their licensure to maintain confidentiality. So it becomes a very complex issue. And so we're sort of teasing out those issues and trying to get clarity around them. And at the same time, trying to say, how do we put these details, how do we make sure they're in our policies and in the procedures so that we are meeting both the Title IX reporting requirements and the state statutory mandatory reporting requirements. So it's complicated, but we're getting there. And the next policy meeting where we will continue to discuss that set of policies is on November 26th, I believe. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Hope. Technology Committee, probably, no?
Maybe a website update? Is there anything to say?
Is there any update on the website?
So we are planning, we actually met today at our 18 meeting to make sure that we're getting the content up, and Noel's doing another training next Wednesday with administrators to help us get more of our content up, so that when we're ready to switch over, which will be after the winter, the Christmas holiday break, when we come back, we'll hopefully be ready. We're going to switch over. We're going to do it then. So we're working hard, trying to get staff pictures up, those who wish to have their pictures up in the staff directory. So it's a long process of changing over. I think most of the information has been switched over, the content. So we're working. We're getting there. We just have to do it.
Thank you. PAS, I don't think has met since September.
No, it's the 21st is the next meeting.
And then we have student wellness. Any updates?
No, we haven't met.
Buildings and grounds, I think we all know what's going on there. Steve, we've heard tonight. And then legislative liaison report from Hope, if you don't mind just filling this in.
So earlier, was it earlier this month or last month, I attended a 2-day conference, which is put on by the Maine School Management Association. And it's a conference for school administrators and school board members. I'm giving this background for the new board members and Phil, if you're listening. It was incredibly informative and useful, and I recommend in the future that we send as many board members who are willing to attend in addition to the delegate, just because there's 2 days of workshops, speakers. It covers topics such as boardmanship, best practices for boardmanship, managing facilities during difficult budget times, school board training, just every hot topic that we should all be up to speed on and educating ourselves on. So I would highly recommend, we make an effort to send as many members as possible in the future. And then part of that process of the 2-day conference is at a delegate assembly, which is where the Maine School Board Association has delegates from each of the school districts, and I was the delegate this year. And that organization, we get together and decide what are the kind of resolutions we're passing for this year to guide school districts, and what is sort of the overarching goals that we want to achieve. And so there were various resolutions that we discussed at our meeting last month that we had all agreed we would support. They were all, fairly well discussed, and I'll just cover the ones that they were all passed in some form close to what we had presented. So one of them, the first one was staff use of social media. So the MSBA is supporting local boards developing a policy around staff use of social media. It's important to be clear about having rules and guidelines regarding what the staff is doing on social media. It has an impact on the school district's reputation. It's something that we should be doing. Similarly, the school board use of social media, we've also passed that resolution to basically treat social media as any other traditional form of communication. So specifically, in all of our communications, including social media, we should be making clear that we're not speaking on behalf of the board, we speak as individuals. We should be keeping in mind the reputation of the school district. We should be very sensitive about confidential information. And we should generally avoid topics such as personnel matters and sensitive topics that are not, not ideal for public discussion. We passed a resolution regarding the legislative focus on students. And what this says is we want to go to the legislature and say, any legislature that is proposed affecting public education should go through the lens of the best interests of the students and not necessarily, so ask the questions, what is this doing for students, and see, is this in the best interest of the students, or is this really about the adults in the equation? And then the last one that we did raise at the meeting last month was the board-teacher relations, which also passed. And this one was in response to the legislation that was proposed last year to bring school policy under the purview of negotiations in contract negotiations with teachers. So what that would have said, teacher negotiations involve school policy. So we'd be putting that in the contract and having them giving them kind of contractual bargaining power with respect to school policy. That didn't pass at the legislature, but the MSBA has a sense that this isn't going away, and school boards need to sort of take more seriously the teachers' interests with respect to school policy and engage teachers when it's applicable in the discussions of school policy. And part of that resolution was also to boards to consider using interest-based bargaining in the collective bargaining process, which is more of a collaborative negotiating process as opposed to sort of the adversarial approach to collective bargaining. And then there was an additional one that we didn't discuss last month, which was the use of tax dollars for, it was to state the MSBA's goal to only use tax dollars for public education that isn't supporting any particular religion or dogma. So the purpose behind that resolution was so that the MSBA can then, there's current litigation with respect to certain parties were looking to get school vouchers to be used in a religious education setting. And it was the feeling of the MSBA that that's taking the money away from the public education. We don't necessarily want to see public dollars being spent in any support of any particular religious religion or dogma. So it allows the MSBA to file an amicus brief in the event there is a litigation and they want to become involved in that to support the prohibiting the use of school vouchers for religious education. So we didn't vote on that, but the delegates did vote to approve that one. And that was it for the delegation. Again, it was incredibly useful and beneficial, and I would recommend anyone who can go to attend in the future.
Thank you so much, Hope, for that summary. I know it's a really good conference. Okay, so then next we have announcement of upcoming meetings. Starting with November 18th, there is the calendar meeting in the Jordan Conference Room at 3:30. It's not listed on here, but I just want to remind people who are here that we're having a gratitude gathering on Tuesday, November 19th at the middle school from 2:30 to 4. That is for all staff, hosted by the school board to say thank you. And then November 21st, a PAS meeting, 8:30 a.m. at PAS. November 26th, 3 p.m. is the next policy committee at the Jordan Conference Room. Also on November 26th at 6:30 is the next school board workshop at the high school library. And then on December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. will be the third building committee meeting at the high school library. I think that's everything. May I have a motion, please? We adjourn. Have a second?
I second.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor?